In the heart of our great nation, where the strength of our communities is built upon the foundation of strong and loving families, an urgent crisis is unfolding. Child Protective Services, CPS, an institution designed to safeguard our most vulnerable, has in many cases betrayed its noble mission. Too often, families are torn apart not by neglect or abuse, but by systemic failures and corruption. We can no longer stand idly by as these injustices continue. We are here to give a voice to those who have been isolated, to shine a light on the corruption, and to rally our fellow citizens in this critical fight for justice. Every day, countless families are caught in a web of bureaucracy and abuse of power, their lives disrupted and their bonds shattered. Children, who should be nurtured and protected, are instead placed in situations that can be just as, if not more, harmful than the circumstances from which they were taken. Parents, often bewildered and powerless, face insurmountable odds as they fight to reunite with their children. This is not the America we believe in. We cannot allow these injustices to persist. Our mission is to educate, to inform, and to inspire action. We promise to bring you daily updates on CPS, exposing the truth and fighting for reform. We must remember that the future of our nation depends on the strength and unity of our families. By standing together, we can hold CPS accountable and ensure that it fulfills its true purpose, protecting children and preserving families. This is a fight we must not and will not lose. We are committed to saving our families and securing a brighter future for all. The road ahead is challenging, but with your support, we can make a difference. Together, we will bring hope to those who have lost it and ensure that justice prevails. Let us unite with unwavering resolve and a sense of patriotic duty to safeguard the integrity of our families and the future of our nation.
In the United States, CPS makes upwards of $3 billion per day on trafficking and selling our children. The corruption may start with the caseworker, but goes through the judicial system, passing the governor through the Senate and into the White House. The entire system has a hand in the business known as CPS.
Our children are stolen every minute of a 24-hour day. They are being robbed of their innocence, their trust, their happiness. As parents, we are isolated and betrayed by a government we trust. States are balancing budgets on kids' lives. Only 12% of the kids taken will be reunified. Title IV funding is being riveted with fraud.
We need to stop CPS and abolish CPS.com is leading the way. Join us.
Good evening, everybody. I am Kim Page, and tonight we are starting a new podcast. I will be the host of a podcast called Turn the Page with Kim Page. So since this is going to be new, some of you know me, some of you do not. Figure tonight I would kind of let everybody get to know me just a little bit before we kind of jumped into having guests and taking questions and what have you. So tonight, what I wanted to do is I wanted to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about why I am a Child Protective Services Victims Rights Advocate and what I would like to accomplish with this podcast. In 2019, my children were removed by Alabama Child Protective Services. They were removed because I threatened to sue a local hospital for medical malpractice after they tried to admit my daughter, not admit my daughter, admit my daughter, not admit my daughter. Eh, There were so many things that were wrong, and it was medical malpractice at its core. When I tried to bring my daughter home, the hospital wanted to play games, and I, in my state of exhaustion, threatened to sue them for medical malpractice. The nurse said, "If you're going to threaten to sue us, I'm calling CPS on you." That night began the nightmare that I have been in for the past 6 years. CPS took my daughter, who was 17. She was pregnant with a beautiful baby little girl. 2 days later, the next day, they actually took my two little boys, Hunter and Parker, who were 4 and 5 years old at the time. In order to take Hunter and Parker, CPS showed up at my door and attempted to physically come into. We were actually in a hotel at the time because of my daughter being in the hospital almost an hour away from my home. And so CPS showed up at the hotel room and forced their way into the door, physically slamming the door into my face. I, of course, defended myself and my children and pushed the door back. And the CPS worker then called the sheriff's department and had the sheriff's department arrest me so that they could take my children. I got out of jail and I immediately went to try to get my children. I was not given the opportunity to have a 72-hour hearing, which is required by law, but I was being accused of not being able to provide for my children. I spent the next 5 years trying to fight to get my children home. In September of 2019, I decided that the job that my court appointed attorney was doing was not adequate. I was being told to do services that didn't need to be done. I was being told to drug test, even though I've never been accused in my life by anybody of doing drugs. I'm being told I need psychological evaluations, even though I've got them. I had no idea what was going on. But after 9 months of being jerked around, I said, this isn't right. My kids should be home by now. So I decided to fire my court appointed attorney and I hired an attorney. About 2 months after I hired this attorney, she passed away. And so I said, okay, obviously the Lord is telling me that I need to do this for myself. So I began to do some research and decided to figure out how to fight my case on my own. In the progress of doing that, I discovered all these other parents who had similar stories. And I started feeling that I wasn't alone any longer. I started seeing that there were other parents out there that had similar stories to me, and I wanted to do something to be able to help those parents. So I started researching. And in this research, I discovered that Child Protective Services is, as you all know, the world's largest supplier of children into sex trafficking. They are a for profit child trafficking business. So I started doing research and started learning the law, fired my attorney, and started filing motions. Within 2 months of my filing motions, I ended up having the judge on my case remove himself from my case. Within 30 days of that happening, my case is in a completely other county. I went through all judges in the first county. I go to another county. Judges there don't want my case because I am fighting. I am fighting hard. I am getting legislators involved. I am shaking trees. Vinny, are we okay? I'm seeing that there's a issue. Okay, I guess we're good. So in investigating and working my own case, learning the law, I've met quite a few parents along the way, and it has become apparent to me that Child Protective Services, their only goal is to destroy parents, to destroy families. I have watched so many parents take their own lives. My best friend was one of the ones who took his life in October of 2023 because Child Protective Services took his children. So, what my goal is to help parents to learn how to fight their own case and to be a support system for parents who feel like this is the end of their life. They have nothing more to live for. It's not the end of your life. You have children who are going to one day want to be there to find out what actually happened. They're going to want to know the truth. They're going to want to meet you. So you're going to have to find a way to be able to survive through this. So my goal with this is to hope be somebody that can help you to be able to make it through this, to be able to help you understand the court process, to be able to help you understand procedures, learn how to do the research, learn how to write motions. I'm not an attorney, I'm self taught with everything, but I have been very successful with my case and other cases in being able to make CPS and these family court judges shake in their boots. So, my goal in doing this podcast is to help you to be able to help your family, to be able to help you survive the hell that you've been put through by these people, to be able to figure out a way to defeat this evil company, this evil business that thinks that our children are expendable. So, what I would like to do is, Tammy, how are you? You think you've been on the show a couple of times. Tobias, you're from Alabama. I would love to be able to get a couple of questions for some folks to kind of get a rapport going with everybody. So, what kind of things, guys, would you like in this show for me to be able to do to help you be able to help your children, to be able to get your kids home, to be able to help you make it through this? I know for me, one of the biggest things was just being able to see that other people had been there was so comforting. As messed up as it sounds, knowing that I was not the only one, that my children were not the only one victimized, was so comforting for me. And I would like to be able to try to be that for you guys. I learned how to fight my case by doing research, by looking up so-called advocates online. In in fighting this and finding all these other advocates, I have discovered another slimy underbelly in the advocacy world. We have advocates that pretend to be advocates who really are not. And that's also something I would like to address with y'all is how to be able to find an advocate that actually is willing to work for you. Tammy, I went through 12 judges, 5 counties, 4 CPS attorneys, and I became so exhausted that I was not able to get my children back. I still have a couple of avenues that I can take, and I am actually working on taking those avenues so that I can get my children back. But my rights were terminated after 5 years of fighting. I physically, emotionally, and psychologically collapsed. I left uh, everything. I couldn't do anything. I was so emotionally and psychologically distraught that my psychologist wanted to have me admitted to the psychiatric facility. If it had not been for a few advocates that I have met along the way being here for me, I probably would not be alive right now. They were able to help me find the strength to get back up and continue to fight. Although my children are not home currently, in my fighting my case, I have gotten other children returned, and I have kept dozens of children from being taken by Child Protective Services. So I would love to be able to continue that. Tammy, what's going on with your case? Do you have your children? Tobias, I see you're from Alabama. What part of Alabama are you from? So, guys, one thing I would like to ask is I know we have a bunch of people out there that are just sick fucks and they just like to stir up shit just because they think it's fun. Um, if you can't be an adult, then please leave. This is not about you getting your jollies off by being a dick and leaving stupid, nasty comments. Um, this is about helping people. So if you can't be an adult, then please see your way out. Tammy, I'm so glad you got your kids back 30 years ago. Can you tell me what that experience has been like reuniting with the kids? Okay. So your nieces and nephews? So what was that like? How did it feel to be able to know that you were successful and being able to have your family reunited? So another thing that I would like to be able to talk about on this podcast is, again, like I said, we have advocates who use this platform to poach and prod and abuse parents who are already in a vulnerable situation. So, in this podcast, one of the things that I will be doing is exposing some of these advocates who are harming people instead of helping them. And they're doing it to get their jollies off, they're doing it to scam money out of parents, whatever reason they have, who cares? It's evil, it's hurting parents. But I want to be able to teach y'all that if you are looking for an advocate, what kind of person to look for, the things that you need to see to be able to determine if that person is truly there to help you or if they're there to harm you so that they can profit off of you. Yes, Tammy, CPS has gotten so much worse. You said that it was 30 years ago, so that means that was back when CPS sorta, maybe, kind of helped a little bit. It wasn't so much of a for-profit business as it is now, since the Adoption Safe Families Act was signed in 1997 by Bill and Hillary Clinton, incentivizing CPS to remove children from fit parents. Day before yesterday, the American Bar Association actually had a conference regarding trying to do away with termination of parental rights. And they actually admitted that CPS is incentivized to take children from parents. So we're finally getting some people to listen to us. We're finally getting people to hear us when we're screaming that our children are being stolen. Somebody can put a couple extra dollars in their pockets. It's great that it's finally happening, but so many times it's too little too late. And it hurts my heart so much to know that people are going through this. And Tammy, it cost $40,000. $40,000 30 years ago. That's $100,000 today. How many parents have that kind of money? They don't have that kind of money. And if they did have anywhere near it or have the ability to get that kind of money, it's likely going to put them in a situation where financially they're going to not be able to support their kids. It's just a really sick situation to know that we have a government that tells us we're here to help, and then they stab us in the back. So I would like to be able to be a person that y'all can lean on for advice, for a hug, a shoulder just to cry on. But I also want to be able to help you understand the things that are going on in your case, whether it is understanding the legal terminology, being able to understand the procedures, to figure out why your attorney is refusing to help you and how to make your attorney actually do their job. Those are the things that I would like to accomplish during this podcast. I would love to be able to have input from you guys to let me know what kind of things that you would like to, what kind of questions you would like to have answered. What things are most important to you in these particular aspects of learning how to represent yourself, learning how to fight for yourself, and being able to keep yourself sane enough so that when your children finally do come home, you're able to be somebody that can take care of them. So guys, not going to try to do a 1-hour podcast tonight. I'm sure you don't want to just sit here and listen to me just ramble on about little things. I just wanted to be able to introduce myself tonight. And y'all send us some messages. Let me know what kind of things that you would like to talk about on the podcast. What kind of things are important for you to know? My name is Kim Page on Facebook. You can message me directly, or you can message the show, email us. Let us know what kind of things that you would like to talk about on Turn the Page with Kim Page. So for now, I think I'm going to say good evening, and I hope to see you guys next time.
Imagine being a child who has been torn away from their security blanket, their parents, the ones who stop the boogeyman from terrorizing the nights and curing their boo-boos when they scrape their knees. Now just imagine how they mightest feel when the CPS meant to protect them tears them away from their supposed abusers and places them with strangers who have zero comforting skills. They need to be calm. They are confused, lost. panicked and needing their parents, but CPS took them away for the purpose of saving them. The kids don't even know why, and they are told that the parents they attach to no longer want them. What do you think that does? Do you think that this is how protecting children is supposed to look? Abolish CPS.